afternoon, good morning to some, and probably good evening to some. Hope all is going well. This is Isaac Van Tupa Jr., and I'm excited to be here for another edition of Business Talk. Um, we try to, as much as we can, to share knowledge about business, try to enrich the environment, build up the sector, and we also look to bring, key players in the sector. So, if you can, please share the link, whatever way you got to watch the show. Please share the link with others so they can join us. We think this particular episode will be an exciting episode. We'll not have the luxury of having Mr. Akino Phillips today. He has some serious business he has to attend to. Um, but we really look forward to our guest we're having today, Mr. Peter Malcolm King. He's a seasoned businessman in Liberia. If you want to do business in Liberia, he's most likely one of the persons that you want to talk to and engage. And he's been in the business sector for a very long time. I won't, share his entire bio now when he comes on. It's good to watch somebody's reaction as, you share all the plaudits and the accomplishments, which sometimes, we don't give people when they're alive, so we think it will be wonderful as our guests come on here in these different business shows and focusing on different sectors and trying to elevate discussion, improve the business climate, empower more Liberian businesses, that we share these positive experiences, we share these accomplishments of our guests and other people in the business sector, and also, look at how those who are up and coming can improve, because that's how we get continuity. That's how we build sustainability. When other people in the business sector are able to also improve and expand, and we're able to, utilize each other businesses, right? Keeping things in the community, in the Liberian community. I think that's a very important aspect of everything we can do as Liberians and as Liberian businesses, to be able to collaborate with each other, support each other, patronize each other, work with each other, and make sure that we can all have a win-win proposition on the table where, nobody is losing and everybody is gaining. That's the whole idea of, trying to do business. So we just hope that more people will be able to, see that perspective, see that direction, of how the private sector can be so powerful in Liberia and be able to impact everything that's going on. It's a strong vision for many entrepreneurs, and they really believe that it cannot happen except we get the support of our fellow Liberians. So, as you watch this, just figure out in your own mind, if you are an entrepreneur or you're a creator or you're an innovator, see what you can bring to the table. Sometimes your ideas may not be implementable by you, but other people can take your ideas and carry it. So we should be free flowing. We should be able to, give to each other, engage each other positively, and be able to share. And that's what, this is about: sharing knowledge right now, sharing experiences, and sharing tips that people can use to improve, how they do their businesses. Today we're going to be having Mr. Peter Malcolm King. And, he's an astute businessman. He's an entrepreneur. He finds creative ways to do business. So, we should not procrastinate in bringing him on, because he's our guest today. And it's important that you ask some questions. You who are the viewers, you who are receiving this information, when there's any questions you have, try to post it in the comment section, and we always try to go back and answer them if we can't answer them while we are live, or if we can ask them to, our guests. So, it's important that this is kind of interactive. that you participate, because some of you watching whatever even have more knowledge in a practical aspect, in a theoretical aspect, or just in the whole business environment and how it can work more effectively. So your input will be significant to anything we do here, and it will help all of us be successful. Because our primary goal overall is for Liberians to own the business sector, for the private sector to be driven by Liberians. If that can happen, then we'll really move our country forward. Because whatever people say, the direct trickle down from Liberians who can gain wealth entrepreneurially will sift down to so many families. Because for them to be successful, they got to hire people, right? For the business to grow, they got to expand. That's more hiring. So the more we get Liberians involved in business, and the more we support and contribute to those Liberians, that's the more opportunity we have to be able to push this agenda. So for us today, we'll be having Mr. I don't know if you saw the flyer. Maybe I should go to Facebook and be able to see if I can, share the flyer so you can, because it seems like it's coming on without its video. So just so you can know who the person is. Let's see if we can zoom this and then center it. Okay, so let me see if I can share my screen here. I will be adding our guest to the stage very soon. Hopefully he'll be able to put himself on video and share all this knowledge that he has with us. Let me see that. Good. Yes, so this is our show for today. As you can see, our guest is Mr. Peter Malcolm King. He's a seasoned business executive. He's been around for a while. He's into strategic consulting, energy trading, and he's also the founder and chairman and CEO of this global logistics services GLS Group. They are a leading provider of comprehensive and integrated logistics services within Mano River Union, not just Liberia, in the Mano River Union. So this is a very important aspect that you have to understand. This is not just a local businessman. This is a man who is really involved in businesses around the Mano River Union and has a lot of experience in business in general. He has owned and been the lead and the CEO for GLS, for over 10 years. He's really into new business development, operations management, and then most recently, his team was successful in securing a 25-year concession at the RIA. And his commitment is to modernize infrastructure and enhance efficiency at our only international airport. And you know how much we as a people cry, right? So if a Liberian can take that responsibility to elevate the RIA where it's comparable with other places, that would be great. He has multiple companies. They're all recognized for exceptional service and delivery. And, his logistic solutions are real solutions, not just fake. He's a leader in the regional logistics sector. And is the primary guy in his company who's driving the vision, who's driving the implementation. So being able to maintain this for over 2 decades of professional experience is very significant. So we welcome Mr. Peter Malcolm King, a highly experienced and knowledgeable leader. And that's another thing. He's a leader, a real leader in the business sector. He has worked all over the world, in Europe, in the US, in other African countries. He's led energy trading firm. He's been responsible for expanding their business operations across the West African region. And you can tell somebody's experience, right? When you're even talking to him and he's dropping names and talking about stuff, it's just so natural. It's not like you have to think to drop names for relevance, So without much ado, I want to welcome Mr. Peter Malcolm King to the show. Peter, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Tokwa. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you. You can drop the Mr. Just Iva, Isaac, anyone would do for me.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will remember that.
So we have you, and we don't have you for too long. So we'll try to tap into you as quickly as possible because we have promised people that this is a master class at an elevated level for them to understand logistics and everything. So, in your own words, can you just summarize for us your active engagement right now and what you're doing?
All right. Thank you, Iva. So, like you said, and my name appears there, Peter Malcolm King. I am the founder and group CEO of GLS Group. GLS Group is an integrated logistics services platform cut across five operating companies. We are involved from the aviation, both in the aviation and the maritime space. In the aviation space, we have a 25-year concession with the government of Liberia signed in 2017 to operate cargo at the RIA, which also mandated us to invest in the capacity and the capabilities of cargo operations at the airport. And that has given birth to a brand new cargo terminal, which has been built and is operational at the RIA. First time ever that we've had a cargo terminal with the capabilities to handle all types of cargo, from dangerous goods to hazardous materials, perishables, human remains, and so forth. This facility was built over a 3-year period, is worth in excess of $11 million. It's probably today the most recent cargo terminal built in West Africa in the last 5 years. And the capacity is about, the annual capacity can take about 5,000 plus tons. Our current volume in Liberia is just under 3,000 tons. So static hold, we can carry 2 times the volumes that we currently enjoy. In the maritime space, we are a customs house brokerage. We have a transportation business, and we have a warehousing and distribution business. The warehousing and distribution business is the Liberian Inland Storage and Distribution Services Incorporated, and that is a joint venture between GLS Group and a UK-based DFI, Infraco Africa. This
So
joint
just
venture
just let our
was
people know
consummated.
DFI is. Let them know what DFI
DFI is a
is because sometimes we know these acronyms.
development finance institution, or DFI is also an IFI, which is a international finance institution. But DFI primarily focuses on investments that have developmental impact. So for DFIs, the criteria for investment is strongly tied to how the infrastructure will impact its community, the people and the community is located in. So Infraco Africa is a UK DFI. So basically, we are in partnership with the UK taxpayers. We've just completed Liberia's largest warehousing facility on in the industrial park, the old LPRC. Is 5,000 square meters of warehousing space that includes racking, so pallet storage, open flow storage. We have a bonded warehouse. So again, it's Liberia's first commercial bonded warehouse. It's an open access facility, so it's open to everyone who's doing business in Liberia. The facility is climate control, so obviously there's ambient temperature. We don't, there's no coaching at the facility. There's one at the airport, at the facility at the airport. At the ISDF, there's temperature control, so we are able to handle high value cargo and cargo that are sensitive, that requires moisture content control or humidity control. So we can store anything from rice to electronic materials, spare parts, and so forth. I mean, the only things, like I said, we can't store the perishables or items that require a cold chain. In total, and then of course we have GLS Management Services, which is a project management company dedicated in the supply chain space. All our projects are developed in-house, managed in-house until we get to financial close. And we also have a facility management company that is managing the different facilities we are investing in. So in 2017, we pivoted, and our goal is to invest, build, and operate logistics infrastructure that support an efficient supply chain primarily. So that's the business in a nutshell.
Wonderful. Thank you. So before we even start, I want to ask a question because your last portion you just said is something I've thought about, right? We have Amazon, we have Alibaba, and I have this vision about Afrizon, right? And African Amazon, where you can deliver anything anywhere in Africa. And it seems like you are starting to move towards that in West Africa. Do you have a bigger vision for Africa where there will be no last mile, we'll be able to deliver everywhere in Africa?
Sure. I mean, as an entrepreneur, first and foremost, besides being a Liberian, I'm an African. So Africa is my marketplace. Today, GLS operates in Liberia and Sierra Leone. We do business in Guinea through third-party logistics companies, 3PLs, which is very normal in the logistics space. We register in Ghana. We are in Nigeria, and we are in East Africa, headquartered in Uganda. Our intent is to be an African-wide operator. Obviously, charity begins at home, so we started in Liberia.
Right.
And of course, we are a staunch believer in the African Continental Free Trade Area. Again, right, because we see Africa as a marketplace. So what it means is that I see Africa as close to 1 billion people, over $1 trillion GDP, and without boundaries. So the goal is, and we are actively working on it, is to become a Pan-African operator, ensuring that we can reach to every corner, every nook and corner of the African continent.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you. So, I mean, this whole logistics thing is such a service-oriented industry. What inspired you to get into this sector and to push to be successful?
Interesting. So in previous life, I was a trader. I was a commodities trader. So I did commodities, and then I did oil and gas. So if you know anything about trading, you will come to realize that your P&L, your bottom line, is strongly linked to how effective and efficient your logistics operations are. So whether you're oil and gas trader, you have to make sure that you pick the right vessel, because when you call into port, the length of the vessel have to match with the berth is going to appear, or else you will not be allowed to berth. That will cause huge demurrage and blah blah blah. So the ripple effects of having bad logistics operations cut across all sectors. So mining, telecoms, construction, oil and gas, everything. In fact, logistics is one of those sectors that are very fundamental to human survival, because logistics is the movement of goods and services. And then efficient logistics is the effective movement of goods and services. So when I started thinking about coming back to Liberia in 2011, I was like, what would I like to do? How do I intend to come into Liberia as an entrepreneur? I look at the space at the time in mining, in oil and gas, telecommunications, developmental aid, because we had so many INGOs in Liberia. Of course, we had the UN mission in Liberia as well. And I realized that in that sector, in the logistics sector, there was a huge gap. And Liberians were not active in that gap. The only part of the chain Liberians were involved in was in the customs house brokerage and a little bit of transportation. But in terms of an efficient planning and development of supply chain solutions, that was missing. Project management around supply chain was missing. Warehousing and distribution, last mile delivery, and all the innovations that allow those important sectors to operate as effective and efficient as as their business models will expect them to, were missing. We had few international companies. On the shipping side, you had the likes of Maersk and Saf Marine and Costco and so forth. And then, of course, on the logistics side, you had the likes of Bolloré, which is now Africa Global Logistics. You had OBT, and and then you have few Liberian players at the time. So we felt we could come into that space, bring in the necessary resources, bring in the human capital, and create something that could last beyond ourselves. Because at the end of the day, if you start a business, you expect it to outgrow you and outlive you. So that was the intent. So we looked at it and felt that we could go into that sector. Of course, in logistics, it allows you to understand, because it's sector agnostic, it allows you to understand everything about the economy. So we've been involved in everything. And then 2 years after we started, we had Ebola. So immediately we started, we had to face a very big challenge. And it was during the challenge, most of the opportunities that we've taken advantage of today were born. So in crisis comes opportunities.
Right, definitely. So, speaking here about all those things, we have all these challenges in the sectors, because what you're saying right there means that you have your finger, thumb, everything on different aspects of the Liberian economy. So, in terms of your facility, how you plan to address in a unique way these logistics and supply chain challenges in the different sectors of the economy? We have problems.
There was
Did
a
you hear the
little break.
question?
There was a
Okay,
little
so let me
break.
try to restate it. I'm saying, given where we are in Liberia and how we have numerous challenges, business challenges, different sectors of the economy, how does your facility plan to address some of the logistical and supply chain, so people can understand some of the solutions you're offering to our different businesses and sectors?
Okay, thank you for that. So I mean, it's very exhaustive. I mean, we could talk for days on the different solutions and how it's going to impact. But because of time, just to narrow it down, one of the things that gave birth to the ISDF was the issues around the constant or the consistent accumulation of demurrage and storage at the APM terminals, not primarily because of their fault. It's a potpourri of different things, logistics infrastructure, the non-existence of logistics infrastructure within the port. Of course, then you have bureaucracy, you have technology, we have the fact that we have issues around power. So there are times where systems are down, not because of internet, or it could be because of power, or it could be the poor connectivity. So there are many factors that leads to multiple punitive charges at the port. So I just wanted to get that clear. It is not the fault of APM terminals, but in finding a solution, we had to work with everyone. We had to work with APM terminals. We had to work with LRA. We had to work with the concessions. We had to work with the small businesses. We had to work with the even the market. The market, we need to have an appreciation of how an ineffective supply chain can affect their ability to provide competitive services or products to the market. So we look at it and say, well, what can we do to address that? And one of the first things we thought about to engage the government is to introduce bonded logistics, because what it means is that the ISDF today is now technically an inland port. So you can consign and ship your goods from anywhere in the world directly to the ISDF. It doesn't mean it's not going to go to people.
Say that again. Can you say that again?
Ship,
Let people hear that.
You can ship your goods, your products from any part of the world directly to the inland storage and distribution facility. Your shipping line or your broker, when they are declaring when they are when they are making their declaration for import to Liberia, the opportunity is there for them to do that under deferment of taxes. So when you are deferring your taxes, the solution under there is the ISDF. You select the ISDF, you consign it to the ISDF. What that means is that when your cargo arrives at the port of Monrovia, those cargoes that are designated or consigned to the ISDF will be moved under bond with customs to the ISDF. So the consignees or the owners of the cargo or the beneficiaries of this cargo can proceed to the ISDF and customs clear their cargo directly from the facility. And what that means is that the containers that you ship in, okay, you no longer will have demurrage on those containers, because immediately your cargo is discharged into the warehouse, the containers are returned to the shipping line. So you save automatically on those costs that are associated with delays in the port. Secondly, you will still have to pay your APMT handling, because that's their job. They have to offload the vessels and put those containers into trucks to exit the port. You will still have to pay your APMT handling. The beauty of that is the ISDF will pre-finance that with APMT. So when you proceed to the ISDF to customs clear your cargo, you will be paying both the APMT handling and the transportation to the facility there. The good thing is you have the opportunity to clear your cargo partially or fully, depending what it is. So there's a lot of flexibility around using the ISDF. First of all, it helps you with your cash flow management. So it means that you don't come out of pocket immediately. You can go and secure your sales and come back and use your sales proceeds to actually clear your goods for your clients. It allows you to partially clear. So for instance, if you don't have your own warehouse, you don't have anywhere safe enough to keep your cargo, but you need X amount of cargo on a weekly basis, you can only clear what you need for that week. So again, it allows you to be a bit more efficient in terms of your inventory management and how you introduce your products onto the market. Part of that, we can also help you do inspections. So for instance, if you have clients who will like inspect the goods before they buy them, we can facilitate that, because again, it's a marketplace. It allows you to do order management. So for instance, if you are distributing all over the country and you ship a container, but part has to go to Lofa, Nimba, Grand Cru, and so forth in the facility. We can do that. We can reassemble or repackage your cargo for the different destinations. So that is distribution management. And of course, if you need us to provide last mile delivery as well, we can do so. So
Wonderful.
it's a solution. It's a solution that doesn't take away the importance of APMT. No, it doesn't exclude your brokers. No, it's a solution that allows you to have a better visibility on your entrepreneurial journey, because then you can plan your costs. Our goal at some point is to introduce other value-added services like collateral management for those who want to be financed by the banks. So collateral management, there are other things around.
So can you explain that a little in terms of collateral management so people understand? I mean, you will assist them in getting that loan from the bank to be able to have that
No,
relief and bring the
we don't
products in.
assist you get a loan. What we do is to provide the bank the comfort that the cargo, the products, the goods, or whatever, is going to be stored in a world-class facility that is insured, the goods are safe, and that is not going to be released until the bank gives a confirmation. So if the bank is financing you and the bank has a condition for collateral management, then ISDF is your solution, because you can come to ISDF and then you and your bank can sit down and put in place a tripartite arrangement that secures your cargo. But we do not get involved in the financial part of it, either guaranteeing the bank on your behalf or so forth. We don't do that. But what we do is to provide the assurance to the bank and
Right.
yourself
Okay.
that your
Right.
product, your cargo, your goods in the warehouse will be properly handled, will be safe and secure, and that the terms of the financing arrangement between the lender and the borrower will be respected.
So in terms of marketing, and that's, I think a lot of Liberian businesses do have that challenge. But in terms of marketing, what you do for the people out there to really know, to cut away some of the negatives that they may think, um, how do you attract them? How do you attract the regular one container trader, who's bringing stuff in, or somebody in the diaspora who's trying to, bring a couple of containers in? How do you market them, and how can you really help them?
Well, I mean, this is a platform. This is one of the platforms. I think this is an important platform for Liberian businessmen and women in the diaspora. I believe um, this platform is very useful. I think you've done a great job in helping our brothers and sisters there understand the lay of the land, the opportunities as well as the challenges, because it's important. Also, the thing about logistics is, we're not a marketing company. Okay, we do a lot of marketing. We try to be very visible. Uh, but again, logistics usually is through experience. So as people get to use and experience our services and the facilities that we've put in place, the word is going out there. Today, amongst the multinationals from ArcelorMittal to B Mountain, to Lone Star Cell, to Orange, to all the large corporate entities in Liberia, they know who we are, they know the facility, they use it. But you see, for us specifically, we want to help grow Liberian businesses, and hence that's why I'm on this platform, because the benefits the benefits to the Liberian SMEs are enormous. I mean, all the things I've talked about. ArcelorMittal do not need
Right.
collateral management from any bank in Liberia. B Mountain doesn't need collateral management from any bank in Liberia. But we have small companies, guys that are bringing in their goods from China, whether it's sanitizers, whether it's hand towels, whether it's t-shirts, whether it's candles, whether it's balloons, whatever, small Liberian businessmen and women that are importing from China, from Turkey, from Dubai, from Nigeria, from South Africa, from any one of those markets that they buy from. Some of them have had real wild experiences. The people who have shipped containers to Liberia, unfortunately, they were expecting to get some funds, either get a facility from a bank or get a loan from a family friend, or expecting some payment to come in. Their cargo arrives at the port, they don't have money. It starts to accumulate storage and demurrage. And then after a period of time, it goes into auction, and then they lose, they get discouraged, and they don't do business again. And we've seen that happen countless numbers of times, And we're saying, well, while we know that the large corporates are happy with the services we provide, but how do we help our MSMEs? How do we make sure Liberians are active participants in the industry? It is the SMEs that grow the economy. It is the SMEs that create the middle class. It is the SMEs that ensure stability in the country. And if we don't have a strong SME program, we will not have a sustainable middle class. If the SMEs in Liberia are not doing well, the government is not going to achieve their goal of having $1 billion budget. Okay, because Liberians have to get involved. Liberians have to pay taxes. If an SME is doing well, he's paying salary, he's to employees, he's paying taxes to government, and the employees are also paying taxes to government. The employees are, spending money on goods and services, and the government is attracting value-added tax or GSTs or whatever it is. It's a ripple effect. So we need Liberian SMEs to do well if we want to grow the economy. And for us, it's a sector that I think it hasn't been supported a lot. Hopefully this time
But
around.
that was where I was going next. But
hopefully with the Unrest agenda.
Right.
Yes.
So talking about that, and in terms of where government is going, and the fact that you have taken it to another level now from how we see logistics and storage and distribution in Liberia. So what about the border points? Whether we're talking about, somewhere in Cape Mount near Sierra Leone, or somewhere in Maryland near Ivory Coast, or to the north of us, somewhere in Ganta, or somewhere going over there towards, Guinea. How do you see the evolution of the inland storage and distribution sector moving?
Well, I mean, clearly, Liberia needs a lot more investment in logistics and transport-related infrastructure. We got 4 ports, of which only one of them is actually functioning properly. And even the one that is functioning properly do not have a multi-purpose terminal. So there's a lot of restrictions in terms of how things are handled at the port, because as you're aware, containerized vessels have preference at the APMT, and you can't blame them because APMT is owned by Maersk, and Maersk is a shipping line that primarily does containerized vessels. So, there's serious limitations. So there must be many more investment in logistics infrastructure. I think the Port of Monrovia needs a logistics park. The Port of Monrovia needs temperature control warehousing. It needs commodity warehouses. It needs silos for greens, maize and stuff like that. It needs a proper truck park that is properly managed. It needs a lot of things, even traffic management within the port has to improve. The port, they have to revisit the master plan of the port and do that. And it cut across all the ports in Liberia. But also, in terms of the effective distribution of goods and services throughout the country. The president, they are doing roads, which is great. So road and power is very important, very, very important. Now, when the roads are done and energy is accessible and affordable, then what else do you need? So if you look at the agribusiness, then you need your storage. So you need to have ISDF all over the country. Okay, one is not enough. You need one at least in every major region of the country. So in the southeast, somewhere in Nimba, somewhere in the southwest west. So between Grand Cape Mount, Bapolu, and Lofa. Of course, we have one in Monserrado. Then you probably have to look again at the mid area, whether you want to Grand Bassa, because you can do River Cess and Sino from there, or you can even go upwards into Nimba and Magibi and so forth. So you do need significant more investment in logistics infrastructure if you really want to improve, the quality of our distribution of goods and services all across the country. But of course, you need the roads. I'm not going to build a warehouse in Maryland, because how am I going to get anything from Maryland to Western Liberia during the rainy season? So I'm not going to do that. But when they do the roads, I'm very happy to go there and make the investment, because then we can have interlink all across the country, and then hopefully maybe we can see some investment in cabotage as well, movement by sea along the coast. So hopefully that is something that can attract. So we need roads, we need power, we need logistics infrastructure, and we need a good cabotage program. I think,
and that's why one of our viewers, Nikki Cully, is saying the biggest concern I think we all have regarding let me show it. The biggest concern I think we all have regarding intercontinental trade is the inadequate infrastructure to move product.
And, yeah, I mean, and this is not just a Liberia problem, by the way. It's not just a Liberia problem; it's an African problem.
Right.
It's a sub-Saharan African problem. Yes, and until logistics infrastructure is until our government start to put a lot more emphasis on it. So we will consider road also as a logistics infrastructure, but it's it's of paramount importance. So yeah, I mean, if you want to move, for example, now I've had clients who had to move things from Nigeria to Liberia. Honestly speaking, if the road infrastructure across West Africa was up to par with East Africa or Southern Africa or North Africa, customs, if our border points were manned by qualified customs personnel or agents of government, and I'm talking right across the region.
Right. Yes.
It's easy, but guess what? At the end of the day, oftentimes we will decide to go by sea from Nigeria against road, simply because of the challenges of going to 5 countries, multiple border points, where the customs guys do not even understand what the ECOWAS trade protocols are, where the roads are bad, and in some places non-existent. You end up going by sea. And then when you go by sea, the big shipping lines do not do West African shuttles. So you put it on a vessel in Nigeria, they take it all the way to Tangier Med in Morocco, because that's where they are going to transship. And when you go to Morocco, it's first in, first out.
First out.
So it means that if you are number 50 to come in, you'll be number 50 to go out. So it takes you 3 weeks, 1 month, 2 months to ship a cargo from Nigeria to Liberia. It's frustrating, and it's very expensive.
Yes, it is.
So trafficking trade is very much limited by the poor quality or the lack thereof of infrastructure.
So based on everything you're seeing, I mean, I just see a lot of potential, that we have so much opportunity for growth that $1 billion you're talking about is not, it probably could be chicken change if we're actually operating our economy at a certain level. What do you think it would take for government to share this kind of private sector view of the opportunities that exist and how they can get returns as, the tax people?
Well, the government see it, because I don't think they will come up with a development plan if they don't appreciate the challenges that exist. And we've had a couple of them. We've had uh, the lift. I think it was lift. From lift, it went to AFT.
The network is giving us a hard time. I'm not sure if you all can hear Malcolm, or I'm not sure whether the problem is my network. But yes, we are both in Liberia, and sometimes um, our telcos don't provide the bandwidth necessary for us to participate in these, different situations. But you hear the message, you see the opportunity, and how we can create better partnership, whether in terms of our port infrastructure, whether in terms of our road infrastructure, whether in terms of our electricity, our technology. All of these things are critical and important. So we'll try to put side by side, probably in a later show, the National Development Plan. Yeah. Thank you
Hey,
for coming back,
uh,
Malcolm. We appreciate it.
yeah, we just experienced African kind of problem. Yeah, power went. So we
Oh,
had to.
really?
Yes,
Okay. And
yes,
that,
yes.
that that was one of the questions I actually have for you, right? Because your shop is a 24-hour electricity shop. So share with us how you overcome this whole problem, whether the grid is a part of your current electricity posture, or you are totally off the grid, or what?
Well, let me speak about the ISDF. So the ISDF is designed to function primarily off grid, right? So with Infraco Africa, our partners, in designing the ISDF, we obviously recognize the challenges around power or access to energy in Liberia. So the ISDF is primarily solar power. So we made a significant investment in solar. So today we have the equivalent of 400 kVA through solar that is provided by solar. And then, of course, we also have for thermal solutions, we have two generators totaling about 400 kVA as well. So we have a hybrid system where our solar power operates at 70% of our, provides 70% of our energy requirement, and the thermal power provides 30%. And it's primarily because of the HVAC, because of the temperature control. So once that comes on, we need the generators to support them because it consumes a lot of energy at startup. And then once it's plateaus, the generator now adjusts to 30% of its output um, proficiency. And then the remaining 70% is provided by solar. So we have a whole solar microgrid, um, uh, a very elaborate system. It cost us almost $1 million to put that in place. And then, funny enough, we are right next to an LEC substation in
And
the
folks, this
industrial
is
park.
true. I was there. The substation is right there by the location, right there.
The substation was completed, I think, 3 years ago. Was completed probably a year before we completed our construction. And the substation, Mr. Iva, I know the last time we were there, I told you, and as of today, we are still not powered by the substation. But the good news is that LEC has now come to us they brought us to put us online. Hopefully, sometime in February, we'll be online and we will be able to have access to the grid, and we believe that should also have a great impact on our costs, because even the fuel, the thermal plants at 30% is still consuming over $5,000 worth of fuel on a monthly basis. So that money, or some of that money, could go to LEC, and to help them. So it's good news that we are connected to the grid. We haven't been powered yet. We hope in the next few weeks we will come online.
So, being somebody who I say is a leader, I think you can share some leadership and entrepreneurship tips with our people. So, what do you think is the biggest challenge of being an entrepreneur in Liberia, and how have you navigated those challenges, to be as successful as you are?
Well, they say success is relative, right? There will be people that will argue I'm yet to be successful, probably because I'm not president, or I'm not a senator, or I'm not honorable.
And
So
that's
success.
another great point you're making, but we'll get to that one.
So success is. But anyways, I think being an entrepreneur, no matter where in the world you are, is tough because it requires a lot of sacrifice. It requires discipline. It requires focus. It requires a commitment to learn, a willingness to make mistakes, but importantly, um, dedication to succeed. Because to tell you the truth, in my journey, what I have come to realize is that personally, I'm driven. I don't need external motivations to wake up. I don't need my neighbor to have a better car than me for me to feel like I need to hustle harder. I don't need I do it because
It's inside.
yes, it's inherent in me. Inherently, it is. And when we're all little, people will meet you and they will say, "But you smart." They'll say you intelligent. I had a lot of friends in high school that felt I was smart, and what have you. So I think I'm motivated by that. I believe people believe in me, and I believe in myself. So the confidence I see people display in my ability to lead further motivates me as well. So I mean, the challenges is a lot, and then when you put it in the case of Liberia, then you have to deal with so many other external factors. So you can be
Right.
motivated, you can be focused, you can be dedicated, committed, and blah blah blah. But then you have to deal with the lack of access to affordable capital that you can't control. You have to deal with a system that is sometimes manned by inefficiencies. You have to deal with stigmas where they say, "Oh, that man, librarian member, man, that man can make it, but man, that man not do it. You invest in that man will just eat your money." You know, you have to deal with that. You have to deal with the pressure of families, because then brothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, uncles, everybody believe because you're a businessman, carry their problems, or you should employ them, or you should employ their kids, or you
Right.
should borrow them money and don't ask for it, and those kind of things. So being an entrepreneur is difficult. Being an entrepreneur in Africa is harder. Being an entrepreneur in Liberia is tough.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but in essence, you still would advise people to go that direction. But those qualities that you say they need to build are key for them to be able to be successful. And we
Of
really
course.
appreciate you sharing that information with them. But with one point you brought, and it has been a situation with us. Yes, some people do see people as leaders. They see like they can have confidence in them. When it comes to building a critical mass of investment and pushing them forward and say, yeah, lead this thing, we find difficulties in that. And then sometimes we get accusations from other people, like you just said, about eating money. How do we change that mindset? How do we become more unified, more collaborative, more supportive? Well, maybe Malcolm is frozen or I'm frozen. I don't know which, because sometimes it's difficult to tell. But I'm trying to check now who is. Um, if you hear me, I will just continue to speak to the question I asked Malcolm. I believe we have to be more open with each other. We need to be more accountable. The more accountable you are, where you can open your business books and share with the people who are your investor. Major transactions, you inform them. Those are the kind of things that can build trust and confidence in you as a business. So, just as an example, we are starting the Liberia Diaspora Equity Fund, and we're asking for one share. Individuals should contribute $100, $90 for the share, $10 for the administrative thing, and all the work that we have to do. So Malcolm is coming back. We're adding to the stage because he is our man. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so you heard the question or you went out before the
No, I did
question?
not.
Okay, so to make it kind of short, in terms of the whole trust factor that we need to have in each other for us to really grow business. And the last time I spoke with you, you were telling me about some systems that some other nationalities, maybe the Lebanese or maybe the Fulans, they have in terms of how they do business and the code they operate with. How can we build something like that among Liberians that we can trust that we can give our money to Malcolm, invest in him, and we'll be able to see that profit. It's not today, it's not necessarily tomorrow, but given time, you'll be able to get that. So how do we build those kind of relationships and confidences with our people?
Hmm. Um, um, that's a tough question because um, you are now going into the realm of it's almost like sociology because now you have to understand the dynamics of groups of people. And I'm not versed in that. I'm not that skilled to try to explain the Liberian psychic. But what is clear is that we don't do business together. We don't support ourselves. That is clear. What are the reasons? So we can go on and on. Again, I don't like to go into the realm of being speculative and then people say, oh, the man say this or the man say that. But it is clear that we don't have many successful joint ventures, which is, I mean, multiple Liberians coming together to do something. We don't have many of that as examples that you can look back and say, oh, a bunch of guys came and were able to do this and do that. We don't have many examples of that. And I think again, we have to look at the communities, how we evolve in the communities. Um, and I think that therein lies the problem because if you look at you just mentioned the Fuller community, I think those guys have I think their community have certain values that encourages or allow people to do certain things like the trust of borrowing people money and paying back and they I don't know, but to tell you the truth is I'm not versed in that. I don't know why we don't do we don't collaborate as much as we should. But I just wanted to go back to the point about the government, the point we made before I lost power. The question you asked me as to what can the government do, and it does. Is there anything the government can do? is the wear or stuff. And I think I was letting you know that, at least for the last 12 years, there've been different, 12, 15 years, there've been multiple development agendas. And all of them is geared to alleviating poverty, creating a sustainable middle class, improving infrastructure, improving this, improving that. So you have the lift, you have the AFT, the agenda for transformation, you have the PROPO agenda for prosperity and development, and then you have the ARREST agenda for, I think, inclusive development. And so I think only thing is, what is synonymous with all of them? Do we look back and say, okay, what was what were the reasons that the AFT did not achieve its purpose? Have we graded it? Have we say out of 10 how well the AFT do? What are those key parts of the AFT that could have been incorporated into the PAPD, vice versa into the AAID? I think consistency, continuity is something that we've missed. And every time you try to start a new development plan from the scratch, without really infusing the successes of the previous agendas, denies us, the ability to look at how certain aspects of those plans have been successful, and we can continue to build on that. Domestic resource mobilization, again, it is not just about increasing taxes, because again, the small Liberian businessman will be crying, it's, oh, taxes, and blah, blah, blah. You can't overtax. You can overtax the SMEs. However, both the government and the SMEs and its development partners need to understand that if the Liberian SME sector, if it doesn't do well, your domestic resource mobilization ain't going to happen. You can't tax ArcelorMittal, B Mountain, and all these guys beyond what you've already agreed with them. Concession agreements, royalties are pegged to a number and all that stuff. So you need to be more creative. You need to be creative in your private sector to grow. And all that will be, making sure your critical success factors, whether it's roads, energy, education, healthcare, agriculture, those things are attract the right investment. And then, of course, a wholesome and peaceful society is important, because in a community where there are issues, you find out that it hinders productivity. When you spend a lot of time around, you see young Liberians and they're having conversations around the speakership the whole day. You see them, they are arguing, they are spending countless hours discussing issues that, frankly speaking, they should not be wasting their time on. I'm not saying it's not important, it's important, but
it's a waste.
When every single Liberian program on Facebook is political, not many of the programs like your platform that wants to, I don't want to say it's apolitical, because there's politics in business. But when you deal with the challenges, when you focus on the challenges in doing business, what you do is to equip people to support the right platform. Because as a businessman, I should look at the platforms for the political parties and see which one of them will give me the most support. Like in the West, there are a lot of people who don't like Trump personally, but they voted for Trump purely because they are private businessmen or women, and they felt that his policies will support them. So those are the type of things that we need to start to look at here and see politics not as a lifestyle, but as a means to get things right.
But because we have limited role models like you, successful entrepreneurs or people in other spaces, The only people most of our community see, unfortunately, are the politicians who exploit our natural resources or the economic big pie for the country, and they show wealth, they show flash. So that's the example people want to follow. So everybody drives in that direction, and it's not in their interest to develop the private sector. Unfortunately, I've advocated for us to have a legislative national development plan that any one government go on the issues, say how you do things, and get elected on that basis. Or like you say, like in the West, I will focus on big business, and that's my philosophy, my governance philosophy. We're trying to find opportunities for businesses, and others say, oh, I want to focus on expanding the social safety net, making sure the poor people can get elevated, blah blah blah, rather than the national development plan being affected. So I'm totally with you. I've been advocating for that. Hopefully one day we can get to that point where there's continuity in development. This new government will not start a road here. By the time then they cancel the road. The economic impact on that road based on the impact analysis that were done, we lose it because there's no continuity there. Those other downstream effects were not built. So yes, we're not political when we're discussing these things, but it does have political implications, and we recognize that, but it's not biased towards any one political party or anything of that nature. So we just hope that people watching understand it and are able to relate to the show. So it comes to now the economic environment we are in. How much from a risk perspective is your decision making governed by uncertainty?
Hmm. Well, uh, put it this way: if the average score risk score in Africa is in Liberia is probably 10.5 over 10.
Wow.
Yes, it's a lot of risk in doing business in Liberia, especially if you don't have a long term focus, because again, a small population, um, poor infrastructure, a very high unemployment rate. Uh, you can look at all the negatives that exist today, and that count to your risk, because again, you need a productive and a very productive workforce, right? And your productive workforce have to be educated or trained. Now, we do have a lot of gaps there. Productive workforce have to be healthy. You have a gap there, because if you have employees that do not know their health status, they've never been HIV tested, they don't know if they are diabetic, they don't know if they have early forms of cancer, they don't know anything. That person is working tomorrow. He or she becomes very important to you. They forsake, and they are incapacitated. Your business is exposed. There's a lot of that. Political risk, I don't think I won't rate it high, because I think we've turned the corner. I don't think we're going to go back to war anymore. I think we are smarter than that. But of course, political uncertainty is also a problem, because then when you are not sure which direction things are going to go, people tend to hold back and divert their investments into other markets, because they are not uncertain. Like they say, the absence of war doesn't necessarily mean the presence of peace. So
Right.
sometimes people look at it and say, well, probably things are just quiet for now, but who knows whether it could flare up in the next year or two or so forth. So there's a lot of risks of doing business in Liberia. However, the higher the risk, the higher the rewards.
The reward.
So unlike most countries that have all the efficient, everything, they have great rules, they have better educated people, a more healthier workforce, and blah blah blah. but then the barrier to entry is probably high. You need a lot more money. You need a lot more creativity and whatever. So in Liberia, the barriers are there, but I think in terms of competition, there's not many competition in Liberia. That's why we have certain industries completely monopolized by non-Liberians, because again, there's no competition from the local folks. So me personally, what all the risks I narrated here, I've looked at it, and I've de-risked most of the risks I face with access to capital. I've de-risked that because now we have what it takes to sit with the DFIs to get concessional loans. In terms of the workforce, we've always prided ourselves on investing in training our people. So we spend a lot of time, both in manpower time and resources, to train our people. We've built strategic partnerships with banks and financial institutions. We've gone into strategic partnerships with global players, and all that has helped help us better manage our risk exposure. But of course, every entrepreneur is aware of the risks associated with doing business. To be alive is a risk. We fly every day, we drive every day.
I say that to eat rice green can go the wrong way.
Exactly, we eat and drink every day. So it shouldn't be an excuse for someone to start or to take up an opportunity, but you must recognize the challenges and then find ways to mitigate against them. But if you don't recognize or appreciate the challenges, then you probably will get caught napping.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, as we draw towards the end here, we have a lot of young entrepreneurs coming up. We have, somebody here who's talking about, raising funds for the projects has been an obstacle. What kind of advice will you give young entrepreneurs who are trying to enter this market? What kind of opportunity do you see for them, and what kind of path of least resistance can you share?
Path of least resistance. The path of least resistance will probably be to get a job in government and forget about being an entrepreneur.
Let's leave that.
I think a lot of people are choosing that route, so you can't ignore that. But
We're
I
talking
think
about those who want to do something different, those who want
those
to be
who
the
really want to, to continue their entrepreneurial journey. Well, all I can say is Malcolm doesn't have two heads. So I don't have two heads. I have a single head. I'm not the smartest guy around. Guys way smarter than me. But I think, like I said, the first thing is understanding the solutions you want to bring to the market. So, for instance, you can look at Liberia and assume that there must be a market for, I don't know, for instance, as kids, right? Almost every school campus, they used to sell Kool-Aids, where they used to tie them in a little plastic, see-through little thing that would tie it to. So, I mean, how come?
I just have to.
Yeah. So how come no one in Liberia has, think about developing that into, not using cool, developing, local flavors and selling it as a drink on school, and things like that. So you have to find,
But not to interrupt you. For one time, as sports commission, I met this young lady, and I think she was on the highway. I don't know what happened with her business, but she had a variety of juices, that were just like really nice. I tried several. I think her number was in my Liberian phone, so I was never able to follow up with her. But some people start, it's just that being able to continue sometimes, that resilience you talked about, that commitment, being steadfast. sometimes they lose it. But sorry for the interruption, but it just triggered my
Yeah,
mind
I
that
mean, you know,
somebody was doing
one
that.
one thing we can do for ourselves is support patronage. How do we patronize Liberian owned businesses? How do we ensure Liberian businesses are able to remain open? I mean, we have few examples. Our very good friend, Zoe Baker, Terracotta has been there now, going on for 10 years. I mean, she's patronized. Luckily, she has a good client base, and there are people that come from many parts of the world, and they look forward to going there. Not only to eat, but also to socialize, because you get to see
Yes.
see people. You get to see people that you probably haven't seen in a long time. That's great. But we know of other Liberian restaurants that have closed because of the lack of patronage. So what I'm saying is we got to patronize our people. I was out last night with some friends who were visiting, and we went few places. Again, most places in Sincor are very quiet, and it's a Friday night. It's a city of 1.5 million people. Monrovia is probably got more people than cities like Denver, San Antonio, San Diego. But those are cities that will boast of hundreds of restaurants, and they're all making money. So how can a city of 1.5 million people have just maybe four restaurants or three hotels? You understand?
Of
So
note.
yeah, it means one, you have to look at the lack of capacity. There's no capacity in the system to sustain that nightlife. Uh, or the one place that is doing very well, okay, can cater for the amount of people that can go out. So once you have one spot that is filled for the night, the rest of the spots will suffer because you don't have many people that are out, on a Friday night. So we don't have a night economy. We don't. A city of 1.5 million people without a night economy. That's crazy. So there's opportunities there. Your economy should be 24 hours. It should be 24 hours. There should be people making money in the morning, in the afternoon, in the night, till the next day. There should be different sources. You should have places that you
But
can go to
part of
hours. You
electricity,
should have
right?
pharmacies. You should have pharmacies open 24 hours. You should have eateries open 24 hours. You should have different services that is available 24 hours. They say they can shut down at 7:30 or 8 o'clock. So yeah, there's a lot of things we can do to mitigate the risk, but I think most important, as an entrepreneur, you should bring value to the table. What do you bring to the table? What are you offering?
Right.
If everyone is making bread and you want to make bread, why should I leave from my mirror to come and buy your bread? What's the
Exactly.
difference? It's the same. I'm sticking with you. So is it the packaging? If it package the same, I'm sticking with my Mary. If the price the same, I'm sticking with my Mary. So what is your unique value proposition if you say you want to open a bakery because my Mary making a lot of money baking bread? So you go open one too. What are you bringing to the table that will be different or that will improve upon what my Mary is doing? You know, So that's one of the things. A lot of us go into a repetitive cycle. Is it Malcolm is doing a warehouse, so everybody wants to do a warehouse. Ivar has a talk show, so everyone wants a talk show. And this. But what Ivar brings to his talk show, his unique value proposition, is different from what I would if I wanted to start a talk show. So I'm going to look at how can I get people away from talk show, or I select a time that I know that your viewers will be available to tune into a different type of program or something. But innovation is key. Innovation is key for an entrepreneur.
So, as we come towards the end of this show, we want to say we really, really appreciate your time. But if somebody was to say, ask you, are you bearish or are you bullish on the development in Liberia? What would that response be?
I'm an entrepreneur, so it's clear that if I'm anything other than a bull, then I'm wasting my time, especially in Liberia. So to be in Liberia, you have to be bullish. You can't be bearish. You cannot, because that means you are operating in an environment that you should not be operating in. To be a bull to operate in Liberia, you got to
Right.
you got to fight for every inch of territory you're going to conquer and every sales you're going to
Right.
make, and you got to be
Right.
deliberate about it. So I'm bullish in terms of my business expectation. Are there other concerns? Yeah, of course there are other concerns. Like I said, the external factors beyond my control, issues
Right.
around political uncertainty, issues around the cost of doing business or the business climate and stuff like that. They concern me. But in terms of how I see my business, I think there's no limiting factor. I think every challenge presents an opportunity. So
Right.
it's how well we translate that opportunity, that challenge into an opportunity will determine how well we fare as a business. But the challenges are not going to go away. But we have to become more and more innovative to deal with those challenges. Just the same way, in order for me to raise $25 million into Liberia, I couldn't get that from local banks. I had to go out there. I had to talk. I had to roll my sleeve and sit in front of those guys who many of them told me, I ain't going to give you money for Liberia. Go and do this project in Nigeria. I will give you the money for it. I don't want to put my
Wow.
money in. And I said, well, if this works in Liberia, it will definitely blow up in Nigeria. So let's use Liberia as the green field. Let's use Liberia as the launch pad, because it can't get much difficult than Liberia in terms of infrastructure, in terms of everything. So you have to think out of the box. You have to go out there. You will have to find it. But then if you are going out there, your story gotta be right. You got to know what you're doing. You got to know what you're
Right. You gotta be
saying.
able to pass the due diligence. Yeah, it comes with that kind of
Yes,
level of business.
yes, you must have a plan.
So yes. So for us who cry that we want to control our economy, and in this space, I mean, you are doing that for us to some extent as Liberians. But where do you see that control entry point for Liberian businesses? Let's say that can scale up, and be able to challenge the foreign business people, not necessarily take them out because I think the market, the space, but how do we carve those niches that we can enter and be influential in our own economy?
I mean, there are simple things we can do, right? The government, for example, can just localize procurement. The government budget is what? I don't know, it's almost 800 million, I think, for
Yes.
2025. So
Yeah.
what percentage of that is on capital expenditure? Uh, so let's look
And
at
what
it and
percentage
say,
comes directly to Liberian business?
yes, so if the government is spending $4 million a year on stationaries, the government can act and say, as of financial year 2025, stationaries can only be supplied by Liberian businesses. End of story. End of story. That's exactly what it is. So you have people that are now involved in stationaries, guys who are, for instance, the likes of Joseph Creighton and Co, who have invested in printing in a printing, manufacturing business that is doing copybooks and stuff like that, can benefit from that.
Right.
You can other things you can look at. I don't know. The government buys air conditioners, the government buys printers, the government buys cars. The government spends, I don't know, what, $200-300 million every year. So if we say since 20, I got back, started business in 2012. So since 2012 to now, it's about 15 years. If our budget was averaging about, I don't know, 500 million a year over 15 years, my brother, that's what? That's 7.5 billion, I think.
Yes. Yes.
7.5 million. So if you did 10% of that, that you've localized for local procurement in 15 years, that's $750 million. Now, it sounds easy. It's not that easy, of course, but then you got
It's
to be
not easy,
deliberate.
but it's about implementing it. Even if we hold
Exactly.
fast to the liberalization process and really ensure that Liberians are the ones operating in all those industries that are dedicated to them, it can make a huge difference. I mean, it's you in a logistics space. One of my and I would be wrong, but one of my suggestions have always been, look, give some Liberians the opportunity, whether that's smoked fish, you say they will have a monopoly on to order on. Select
Mhm.
4 or 5 commodities that we use like nearly every day and get some Liberians into those sectors. I think we can make Liberian millionaires very easily if that kind of proactive, affirmative kind of action can be coming from government to support Liberian businesses. Do you share
Yeah,
that
but
opinion?
I do, but there's a caveat. So affirmative action on the part of the government has to uh, uh, there must be reciprocity from the private sector, which means the private sector must be prepared. The private sector, Liberian businesses must be structured to take advantage of those
Oh,
opportunities.
totally agree.
In terms
Yes.
of affirmative action, where we are now saying that the government should give a Liberian business a $4 million contract to supply paper, and the next thing we know that the brother or the sister, you know, has gone to collect a Toyota Land Cruiser from Sika Motors without even supplying government.
One one piece
Whilst
of
we
paper.
are happy that you can afford now to ride a Land Cruiser from Sika Motors, it is important that you deliver on your contractual obligation to government, because it opens the door for John and Mary tomorrow to get contracts. If you fail, the government will say, nope. The following year will come, they'll say, we're not taking the risk. We did it last year. We got less than 20% of what we needed. In fact, the business that we gave the contract to is not existent anymore. And that's the problem. So reciprocity, I think the private sector, we need to focus. We first need to get our acts together as Liberian businesses. When we are positioned to take advantage of this opportunity, then we make the government take affirmative action. We are not positioned today to take advantage of many of those opportunities. Hence, the government needs to look at putting in place support mechanisms that get us ready to take advantage of those opportunities. And I think that's where the marriage between the public and the private sector
So we've reached to
comes to.
the end of the program. We really, really appreciate your presence here. You have dropped significant knowledge, but you have the last word in closing in terms of what you want to impart to the viewers, people who will watch this tomorrow, day after, or whenever. What will you want to share in that respect?
Well, many things, but I think just off the top of my head, I will say that as Liberian businesses, and Liberian businessmen and women, we have a lot of work to do in getting um, to the place that we believe we deserve. We hear a lot of time about local content, local participation, and da da da. We're not structured enough to take advantage of it, so nothing happens. So I think the first thing I would like to say is to Liberian businessmen and businesswomen is to invest in ourselves. Okay, invest in ourselves, get us the right exposure, invest in the right systems, invest in the right processes, invest in your people, try and train your people, try and hire right, make sure the people you are hiring have the basic skills required for those jobs that you need them for. Because in order for us to own the narrative or to change the narrative, we have to own the narrative. We have to take responsibility for what we want to change. And for us to change it, we have to own it. We have to own the block. So there's the saying, let's buy the block, because when we buy the block back, we break it down and redevelop it the way we want. Okay. For us to buy the block, we need resources. We need capital. But then we also need experienced managers. We need smart people, because you can have money, but you can fail at business. Yes, you can fail at business, but you have money because you could inherit money. You could win the lottery. You could have a windfall. You could come across money in many ways, but that doesn't make you an entrepreneur. To be an entrepreneur, you have to imbibe. You must carry the fundamental ingredients of entrepreneurship. You must be disciplined. You must have a plan. You must come to the table with an innovative solution that sets you apart from the market. You must have a unique value proposition. You can't join the marathon, but then you want to be singled out as a sprinter. It's not possible. To stand out, you got to find a way out.
Wonderful. Great advice. Before you leave, I just want to introduce you to one of the creators of this whole platform, Mr. Akina Phillips. Mr. Akina, this is our guest today. So sorry you had something to do, so you couldn't be here. But I'll show you a follow-up on it. Or you are probably tracking the show, who knows? But if you have a word for Malcolm before he leaves, please share it. And then, let me unmute you.
Okay. I must compliment you for the hard work and the creative spirit that you brought into the Liberian business community. I'm not flattering you, but I'm complimenting you on all of the hard work, the creative work that the both of you guys have exemplified through the manifestations of all of your thoughts. Like you said, you guys epitomize the ingenious Liberian entrepreneurial spirit. Okay. And I think, like you said, if there's any way for you to market that between, you and your brother to market that, put it in a bottle and just mass produce it and put it on all the shelves for everybody to buy a bottle and become infected with that ingenious, creative spirit to, like you just said, to maximize all of those traits and those qualities and those competences and leverage our infrastructure, our natural resources, our, business community, the diaspora, the local Liberians and I know you've been able to convince the banking sector. Correct me if I'm wrong. You put together an idea and you sold it to the banking sector, and for them to be convinced to put their money behind what you're doing based on the results over time that you guys have been able to prove in the market. So thank you so much for participating in the show. I followed it, and we've been talking over the years and stuff like that. And Dr. Obal from the how you call it, the WAV group, and stuff like that. So that was the initiating, and I still communicate with him today. And you were part of the portfolio, and you guys exemplified success in that portfolio, and now you guys have multiplied it, and you guys were actually what that whole endeavor was all about. Empowering Liberians in the sector to grow. So thank you so much. I was hoping to be on the show, but then I had this business meeting this morning, but then it got shifted, and I said, "Oh, what? Let me just run on the show." So thank you so much for participating this morning.
Thank you, my brother. Just to say, way before Peter Malcolm King, way before, there was the Bill Morris.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, there you go.
There was the Clarence Parker.
Yep.
And we can name all of
those. Yes.
All of them. They paved the way. I wouldn't be here today if as a young boy I didn't, even though I wasn't born at the time, but I saw it much later on. I was on the cover of was it Jet magazine?
Yeah, Jet.
I think Jet magazine, King of Rubber. I've heard stories, I've been in countries where I introduced myself to people as, who I am, and I was told, I've heard stories of guys like Gabriel Doe in New York City back in the days, or Stephen Talbot. So we've had guys who've done it. Unfortunately, what we've had is we've gone through a significant period of stagnation where creativity and innovative critical thinking,
Yeah.
creativity and vision was not paramount anymore. Survival was paramount. So people was thinking how to get food or how to save their kids or their parents rather than thinking, oh, I think, I can go and do, a mall in Gardnersville or build something, that could bring considerable returns. So I think it's also to let the younger people know that there've been many successful Liberian entrepreneurs in the days past. So it's not like, okay, this is one of, because sometimes people say, I will meet some young kids and then we talk. They'll be like, yeah, but you know what? There's no one like you. And I'll be like, no, there were many others. In fact,
Yes.
I haven't even matched up to what some of the guys have done.
I've done.
But they
That's
will
exactly right.
all your time, so you don't know them. You know me, and it's in your time, so you feel that I'm a, okay, this guy's a shining star. But yet they've been trailblazers, and I think their stories need to be told. I think people need to be educated that we were manufacturing pins in Liberia, like pin manufacturer,
Yeah.
many years way before national paint
Yeah.
came out, So again, how do we tell our story? I guess we need to invest more in telling our stories on platforms like this. We need to revisit with Liberian entrepreneurs of the past. I think that will also put a lot of things into perspective when people find out that we used to export shrimps to Japan
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and, and sell
Lobster. Lobster. Yep. Yep.
yes, exactly. And all this, all the great stuff, and all the big families that had the great farms, the bright farms of the past that were doing eggs and, feeding the market and stuff like that. So there's a lot for us, to cherish, to look at, and help the young people see that, well, this is not, this is not, should I say, this
Far
is not
fetched. Far fetched. It's not far fetched. It's not far fetched. It's doable. It's doable. It's
very
doable.
much
Yeah.
so. It's very much doable.
Let me.
Our stories and the stories of the guys who've
Yeah.
done it before us needs
Need
to
to be
be
told.
told
Yeah.
together,
Yeah.
because then Malcolm doesn't look like a guy who fallen from sky. I
From
didn't
the
fall from
sky. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Let me ask you this question. Maybe I've asked you. What does the role of my backdrop, energy, electricity? This is something, as you know, I've been championing. I know you. I see you smiling there. I've been championing this thing, driving this thing, pushing this thing. I don't understand what is it? What is it? And I don't understand why is it that successive leaderships don't understand the role that electricity energy plays in building, growing, fostering this creative thinking process in the Liberian entrepreneur society community that is supposed to stimulate economic growth and create jobs and drive this economy forward and transform things in this country. Can you, from your perspective as a businessman, entrepreneur, where now your new investment with this storage distribution center that is critically important for the Liberian economy, that is 100%, right? The success of it is 100% dependent on electricity. What role do you see? Is there a disconnect? Is there is there something missing in the way people think, the leadership thinks, or how important this is? I mean, I would really like to get your input on the show today, because I've been talking about this, and it's something when one person keeps talking about something, people kind of lose the importance of it. So directly in the sector, speak on that, please.
All right. Thank you. So, I mean, you have a great backdrop. I mean, energy is life. Life is energy. Okay. You take away energy from life, nothing happens. If there's no light at night, it's dark. You can't do nothing. You can't read, you can't see, you can't entertain, you can't do nothing. You bring energy back, the place lights up and everything comes alive. Lives are safe. With energy, lives are safe. Without energy, lives are lost. With energy, things are produced. Without energy, things are not produced. You can go on, you go for.
Yeah.
In terms of the government, I think every government understands why energy is important. I don't think any one of the previous agendas, development agendas, didn't prioritize energy. Energy was always in the mix. However, implementation, they say the devil is in the details.
Yeah.
Implementation is the key. Competing priorities, then the one doing the prioritization has to be efficient. Okay, because at that point in time, when you look at it, I mean, there's a lot of competing priorities, my brother. There's healthcare.
Yeah.
You can't have a productive workforce with poor healthcare. There's roads. The economy will not transform if the country is accessible.
Yeah.
The country will do nothing if there's no power. Absolutely nothing will happen with no power. So these things are very much intertwined. And I think the development plans, the successive government plans speak to that. They tell you that energy is important. So your assertion that you don't think they take it serious, I mean, I wouldn't want to concur with that. I would do, because the government is a structure of hundreds of people. The government appoints, the president appoints, I don't know how many people. I'm sure it's several hundreds or if not thousands of people every time there's a new government and stuff. So decision making is not solely the domain or the forte of the leader. He has a team that should that, and based on the agenda, then they prioritize where they're going to put money. Education, agriculture, healthcare, blah 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 blah. But I think one thing we could do better is the narration. Why do we need power? I think that if we could, as a government and as a people, if we can clearly articulate
there you go.
Thereof and the impact it has on everything else.
On everything, that's exactly right.
On everything,
yes.
Then it's okay. So you want the government to be very clear about the national energy plan.
That's exactly right.
Very plan. Everyone in government should buy into that plan and should fully understand and should be able to articulate that plan. The same way you should have a national food security plan, you should have a national energy plan. In fact, your national security plan should have key components: food security, energy, or healthcare are all part of your national security plan, because when these sectors are not performing right, they have a way of impacting the peace, how you sustain peace.
That's exactly right.
When people are disgruntled or disillusioned, peace is under threat.
It's under threat. That's exactly right. Yeah.
So I think the national security and its key components like the national energy plan, it has to speak to the industrialization of the country.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
If we are going to invest 1.2 billion over the next 5 years in the energy sector, okay, we should be able to articulate its direct impact on the GDP.
That's exactly right. Yes.
We should talk about its impact on job creation.
Yeah.
We should talk about its impact on domestic resource mobilization.
Yeah.
You talk about its impact on infrastructure development, like mine. You just said,
That's
my
exactly.
facility consumes. So if we're using fuel,
Mm-hmm.
we're talking, so between the airport and the ISDF, both facilities and our corporate office, we're spending about $60,000 a month in fuel costs.
I won't be surprised.
So
I
if
will not be
I'm
surprised.
already in an environment where I had access to affordable energy,
Yeah.
like Abidjan, like Accra,
Reduce it.
I probably will be spending maybe a third of that.
That's
So
exactly
maybe about $40,000
right. Mm-hmm.
monthly,
Mm-hmm.
which works out to what, almost $500,000 a year will go directly to my post
To your bottom line, and that will allow you to hire more people, increase your
hire
profit.
more people, and stuff like that. There will be more shareholder funds for us to reinvest in the business, stuff like that. So energy is very critical.
Yeah. Let me pick up on one more point you just made there. You brought up the word. You brought up the S word. You brought up the word of national security, right? And as you know, there's no better security as it relates to national security than putting people to work, because high unemployment rate creates, I mean, you name it at that level. Okay. And like you rightly said, the importance of energy need to be articulated so that people become more educated, people become more aligned, people buy into it. But then when you look in terms of the way that we currently are, operating with regards to almost close to the dry season, we're almost 100%, if not 100%, probably 75 or 80% dependent on the Transco CLSG, okay, the power grid that comes from La Côte d'Ivoire. For me, who work in the energy sector here in the U.S., okay, and I deal with this on a daily basis, one of the big things the U.S. is pushing for is what they call energy security. Okay, so and for us as a nation, that, and like you mentioned, we're looking to industrialize, we're looking to transform our economy, we're looking to invest in young people, we're looking to diversify our economic base, add value to our natural resources, our iron, timber, so forth and so on. Build a strong, vibrant Liberian entrepreneur base so that we can control, command, and like you said, we must own and write the narrative of our economic growth and prosperity, right? So now, I think part of that energy plan, in my view, okay, I may be wrong. I've been wrong so many times, is energy security. So if we are 75 to 80% dependent on Transco CLSG transmitting and bringing in power from La Côte d'Ivoire, which is not bad, but from the standpoint of energy security, I don't think that's a good national security plan, because now your economic growth and industrialization is now dependent on that grid, whereby your local production of energy is significantly less. So now your industrial growth, your economic progress, your job creation, your industrialization, and your socioeconomic transformation within country is dependent on somebody else. You get my point? You follow what I'm saying? So I think, I have not yet heard the word energy security or energy independence, if I can put it that way, as part of the national energy plan. So you, as a businessman who's looking to, as an entrepreneur in Liberia, you're looking to expand, to grow, you're looking at multiple sectors. You've got this new distribution center, which is a great investment. The diaspora, once they become informed, educated about the role it can play to help their business to succeed in Liberia as importers. Where do you see energy independence? Because again, Ava educated me on your power system last week for your facility. You have solar, you have the generator, and you have your own. You got generator, you got solar, and you have easy access to the LEC substation, but you haven't yet, correct me if I'm wrong, connected to that supply. So it's almost like you have three power sources to ensure your business's energy independence, so that you can be successful regardless of whether LEC is on or LEC is off, so that the availability doesn't affect your profitability, your growth, and your success. Yes. I mean, expound on that, please.
So, I mean, again, so yes, I'm aware that the current in this current dry season, the LEC stopgap, because it's a stopgap, is not a permanent solution. It's
Understood.
a solution to ensure that there's energy in country. Hence the CLSG power that is coming through. But of course, I would like to believe now. I've not seen a national energy plan.
Understood.
I believe there's one, or there's one in development. But I think the point here is, even with energy, there's significant opportunities in that sector.
Yeah.
Significant opportunities in that sector. I think with the LERC, the Electricity Regulatory Commission, obviously it's open room, or at least the perception is the private sector can invest in energy generation, is in the primary instance. I think this is a sector that Liberians should participate in. I think we should work with government, to support government to invest in the energy sector. We are currently one of the few local entities that are engaging with LEC on potentially investing in energy generation. And that conversation is ongoing. Okay, and we have secured private investors who are committed, who have given us commitment of up to $300 million that we could invest in independent power solutions in Liberia.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
Yeah. Yes, is ongoing. In a couple of weeks, there will be a lot more announcements around that. But I'm saying, I think our energy deficiency is also a huge opportunity for Liberians to get involved in. It is not solely the responsibility of government, but I think government has to create an enabling environment to attract investment in that sector. I think the laws are already on the books that clearly set the stage for direct private investment.
The LERC, the LERC is functioning in that.
The public sector needs to understand that the private sector, especially guys that invest in energy, don't have the patience or would not encourage unnecessary conversations. Now, you either need energy or you don't. If you need energy to transform your economy, to grow your GDP, to impact healthcare, to impact agribusiness,
everything downstream.
The guys driving those sectors must operate with the mindset of entrepreneurs. They must be driven to deliver solutions.
Yes,
they can't just be there to take salaries. They can't just be there to attend rallies or to promote disunity in the private sector. You need to give private sector confidence that if they attract investment in this sector, the government will give them an enabling to support the industrialization of the country. Government can do more. Even the president in Tanzania, he said it. So there's development aid that is required. We know the World Bank and other people are trying to help us with the hydro, with the new hydro and stuff like that. That's great. But again, Liberia have 2 seasons, so your hydro will work if
in the rainy season. That's exactly right.
You season solution as well. That's where
exactly
your
right. Yep.
thermal plant or your gas to power plant
Yeah.
or your LNG plant
Or
or your solar
farm.
plant
Yeah.
or your wind turbines comes in. Okay. And in our case, we are not yet producing hydrocarbons.
Mhm.
So we have to buy HFO on the international
Yeah.
market. It's cost effective.
Yeah.
Even that is expensive, but
It's
at
expensive.
least
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
during the dry season,
Season. We
we
need a dry
don't
season solution.
lose all our productivity
Yeah.
because of the lack of
Yeah.
availability of power. You understand?
Yeah.
So my point that yes, energy is very important, but we in the private sector shouldn't see it as government's responsibility.
Mhm.
I think in most things the private sector can support government if the government can give the private sector an enabling environment. The private sector will do where the government cannot do. Okay, the government should ensure that the environment is conducive to attract the investment, because if it's not conducive, no one is going to put money in the energy sector in Liberia. And the World Bank
Mhm.
and other multilaterals
Mhm.
will lend to us to their wishes.
To their wishes. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Their
Of
wishes.
course.
So if their agenda is oh, we want to promote renewable energy, so we will only give you money for solar
Mhm.
or for hydro. Well, you need to understand that during the dry season, we need our thermal plants,
Yeah.
because ArcelorMittal is not going to shut down production because it's
No,
dry
no,
season.
no, 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 no. Okay, but my last question here, because my co-host here has already sent me a message. My last question here to let you go. Thank you so much for participating in your contribution on the energy sector. Is, again, I mean, this whole show started off talking about energy and how it directly affects the business. The business and the economy of Liberia, and trying to bring entrepreneurs to get their entrepreneurs to get their inputs on it. Last question for you. How do you think, from your perspective, I know you probably expanded upon this, but can energy, I mean, we as you know, we have a very large Liberian diaspora population in the USA, in Canada, in Europe, and in other parts of the world. And as you know, most of this diaspora population, they're eager, they're excited about coming home, not just to settle in Monrovia, but to other parts of the country where they're originally from, to bring their investments back to participate in Maryland County, Grand Cru, Low-File, River G, so forth and so on. So, I mean, how do you see a direct correlation between the Liberian diaspora population, which, as you know, when diasporans come home, they become one of the largest consumers of electricity when they build their homes, their businesses, because again, they are so much used to energy being a part or directly connected, right? Directly responsible for the quality of their lives in these developed economies. So, how do you see energy playing a role, a direct role, okay, to attract this diaspora population back to not just Monrovia, but to invest in the country, because we need diaspora dollars. Ava and I, we did a show a month or so ago where we talked about remittances into Liberia. Now it's topping over $800 million, way more than the national budget. So if we are to estimate $1 billion of Liberian diaspora population monies that could come back and actually transform our economics and transform our industrialization as a direct result of energy, electricity investment from the government, I don't want to say from the government side, but from government leading on the issue. You get my point, okay? Not, the famous phrase from JFK, right? Ask not what your country can do for you, but the question on the table is, what can you do for your country? You get my point. And
yeah.
Speak on that, because I think that is where, I think that is the disconnect. I don't think a lot of people who, like you said, who are setting the priorities, right, where to make the investments, and I don't think there's an understanding of how important this diaspora population is. If you made mention of Ghana, the diaspora population in Ghana plays a very important role, and energy plays a very important role in driving, growing, industrializing that economy.
A bit out of time, but I think let me jump in. So,
please,
yes, I think first of all, to attract the diaspora, you have to see them very similar to your foreign investors.
That's exactly
very similar. Right. The only difference is they originate from Liberia, but you have to see them very similar to how you see your foreign investors, because they have the same requirements. Philadelphia, no one is going to leave New Jersey or New York or Colorado to come to Liberia and live below standards that they have gotten used to. You can't. The guy is not going to do it. If he has $100,000 he wants to invest, if he comes into Liberia and energy is inaccessible or is expensive, he will get less in return for his money. So the decision is, where would I get the most return for my money? Will it be Ghana, where I don't have to pay so much for energy?
That's exactly right.
Will it be Liberia, where I have to pay so much for energy, where I have fully equipped workforce and what have you? So we have to see diaspora Liberians just how we see investors. We have to create an environment for them to want to put their money in Liberia. I mean, if your parents are from Liberia and you grew up in New York City and you are used to New York City, you are cosmopolitan. You interact with the whole world every day.
Every day.
So you have options. If you're going to bring your money into Africa, you will look at other African countries and say, well, I don't need visas to go to the Gambia. I don't need visas to go to Senegal. I don't need visas to go to Ghana. And they speak English in Ghana. 1 hour flight. In fact, I can fly to Accra, from Accra to Monrovia and return the same day. Today we have multiple flights going to Accra. So Accra is becoming a destination of choice, right? So you have to compete for your diaspora dollars.
That's exactly right.
Just everyone else is competing for their diaspora dollars. So your diaspora is not just going to come to Liberia to say, hey, we're going to bring all this investment if they do not see an enabling environment. And energy is one of those critical success factors.
Yes.
Those key indicator is energy. It's access to affordable energy.
Yeah.
Some of us, we spend $100 every 4 days or LEC at home every 4 days, right?
Yeah.
Every 4 days. Trust me. Do you know many people in the US spending $800 a month? Oh. That's the point. I'm in Monrovia spending between $700 and $800 a month on power. And that is just on one source.
Yeah.
Because at least you got to fire up the gen.
Yeah.
So it's expensive.
If
I was in the States, that money will go towards other things. It will go towards buying a car.
Yeah.
It will go towards buying something else. I don't know. That brings value to my personal life.
Yeah, of course. The quality of life. Yeah.
Exactly. It's spent on power.
But
so again,
the
diaspora dollars will go to where
Get it mentioned. Go ahead.
It will go to where it will attract a maximum return.
That's exactly right.
The least resistance.
Yes.
And right now, the Liberian, more investors we know in the US are doing things in other West African countries.
Because of energy. Because of the cost of energy.
Because of energy, because of healthcare, because of road infrastructure, because of so many things.
Train workforce.
It's
and you see, the thing you just I know you got to go, but the thing you just brought up, right? As you said when I started asking the question about energy, this is my takeaway from the discussion today, as you said from the beginning, There needs to be a larger discussion. Leadership needs to lead on this issue and be effective in articulating and educating the importance of energy, electricity, and how it directly affects every sector, from education to healthcare, national security, agriculture, the socio-economic aspect, the industrialization aspect, the trained workforce aspect, and everything else. You see, I think we need to have a larger conversation. I think we just lost him there. I think his data ran out or something like that. But I think he would be back. But
why gotta be data? That man, I'm data issue.
Probably a problem with his router or something. I know, but
anyway,
it was a good discussion, man. I mean, I would really like to have this guy. Yeah, I would love for him to be a co-host if he has the time. I'm serious, because this is this discussion today, Ava, was very, very what's the word? Healthy. It was rich. I mean, you look at the comments on Nikki Colley there, Mark Davis there. It's maybe next week when we do the show, we can ask people, to call in, those who listen in today or watch the show today. What are their comments, their feedback, or something like that? Please put your feedback on the YouTube, on the Facebook, on LinkedIn. And stuff. How are you doing, by the way? How are you doing over there? I see our neck is back. Our neck is back.
Not really back, but we started exercising now.
That's good.
To get back some size and stuff like that.
I saw you doing push up on the beach the other day. That's good.
No. When you saw me out doing push up.
I saw you doing push up on your Facebook page. I saw you doing push up.
No. That's where I want to get to.
Yeah, where you want to get to. Okay.
Yeah, I think I was like 60 now, 70 push-ups were increased at the time.
Okay. That's an old one. That's an old one.
So
okay.
I'm trying to see if I can get to 25 or 30 for my birthday at the end of February. I'll be happy.
That's great. There he is. He's back.
He's back. The man left punishment. Let me bring him on.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, Peter, thank you so much.
He's all excited about the topic and his energy focus in terms of how, it impacts your business or business in general. Is a strong, idea that he pushes. So hearing from you and the alignment, he's just excited about it. So, you got a couple more questions, so Marco will go.
No, I'm serious. I mean, I'm excited about this because this is a very healthy discussion. Because why he did, this is how what's the word? Someone who's a deep thinker, right? Because he's connecting all of the dots and he's looking at it from what I would call, as a business development specialist myself, we always talk about the 60,000 or the 100,000 foot view. He's not looking at it through a microscope. He's looking at it through a major telescopic lens that considers every aspect of it and how it affects everything in the food chain or in the the ecosystem. And like you said from the beginning, this is where the challenge lies. We need to effectively articulate this, drive this, educate the population, as well as everybody who participate, as you said, Peter, in government, so they themselves will be leading on the issue and understand how it affects their productivity and their efficiency to produce results, right? And to move the needle and bring about transformation in their area of work. Be it Ministry of Health, Ministry of Gender, whatever the case is, and stuff like that. Go on, Peter.
Yeah, we were, before I fell off, we were talking about diaspora dollars and
diaspora dollars. Yes.
And how the decision as to how their funds are deployed. And I was saying, when we think about the diaspora, we should look at them in the same way we look at any foreign investors, because
exactly
they now live in environments where they will have minimum requirements in terms of where they want to put their money. And of course, most people in diaspora are risk averse
That's
when it
exactly right.
comes to putting money into things when they are not there.
Yeah,
Because
yes, yes.
again, what has happened over time has been the misapplication and the abuse of funds home by people who do not show an appreciation of how these monies were earned,
We're
because they
that's
don't know
exactly right.
how what these people go through in
Yeah.
diaspora.
Mhm.
So for us to extract diaspora dollars into Liberia, not just through Western Union support,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
today primarily it comes through Western Union or
Remittances,
MoneyGram or
yeah. Mhm.
SendWave
Mhm. Mhm.
or whatever. If we want to harness, the collective
Yes.
portfolio of
Yeah.
the
Diaspora,
Liberians in
yes. Mhm.
diaspora, we have to have very strong programs. It
Mhm.
can't just be on dual nationality.
Mhm.
That's key. It's important to have that as well, because people want to make sure that they won't have to give up what they've acquired over the last X amount of years in order for
Mhm.
them to in order for them to do home.
Mhm.
But I think importantly, we need a plan that
Mhm.
allows them to see Liberia as an investment opportunity,
Mhm. Mhm.
and those different sectors, whether it's in agribusiness, whether it's in financial services, whether it's in internet technology,
Mhm.
whether it's in how to call it, education, and what
Mhm.
have you. The first thing is they want to see that there's a cohesion
Yeah.
in the national agenda,
And
that
yes.
everyone is talking the same talk, walking
Yeah.
the same walk.
Yes.
What will confuse people if they are competing,
Yes.
or different conversations going
Yes.
on. The
Yeah.
agriculture people are saying, "Oh, this is what we want to focus on," but then they've excluded the fact that you can't transform you can't transform us from subsistence agriculture to mechanized agriculture without investing in the critical infrastructures that allow that transformation. So then you have to speak up. You have to speak about your energy plan again. You have to speak about your road connectivity. You have to speak about all these things will still come up no matter which sector you apply in, because they are the fundamentals. They are
Yeah.
the foundation pillars of your economy.
The economy.
So today we compete with everybody else in Africa, because now we have a continental free trade area.
Yeah.
So we are competing with everybody else. So what is our distinguishing or unique
Uniqueness. Yes.
proposition
Yes. What
as
is
a
our
country?
niche? Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
But
What
what
is
makes
it
you
that
stand out that will cause
we
people to
have
be
nice
attracted to us?
we have nice beaches, we have friendly people. Oh, that's great. What else do you have? You understand?
I
The
understand. I
quality
understand. Yeah.
the quality of your of your graduates are being questioned.
Mm-hmm.
uh, STEM, which is science, technology, engineering,
Yeah.
maths, and all
Nice.
that,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
is almost is non-existent.
It's
Yeah,
non-existent.
we are not putting any money into it.
Mm-hmm.
So our young graduates with BScs, half of them have never even owned a computer in their
In the
life.
computer. Yeah. Yeah. And
You
and
know,
and then they're not eating. So as a result, they're not. For lack of a better way of putting it, I mean, where can you place them in the labor force to advance your business? You see, so
yeah,
then yeah, and again, you cannot improve the quality of education at the vocational training level or at the university or college level unless you have the labs, right? The laboratory equipment that also depend on electricity again. So you're back to the same foundational issue of electricity again. You see.
yeah. Energy is life. Energy is life. It's as simple as that. And we can talk. Like I told
Yes,
Ivan, we can talk on this all day,
yeah, yeah.
and we will always agree, because
We
the fact of fact of the matter is, every time I signed off on this program, it was because I was changing my power source.
Yeah.
If I was in the middle of an operation, there's a very strong chance that something could go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm so encouraged today, so excited today. You know, your brother, your brother / business partner, shared brain, Paul, came to visit us about a month and a half ago. You know, you guys know my wife. You guys went to school together and all that kind of stuff there. So we
Oh,
were
really?
talking.
You saw Paul in the States?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You know, I live in Houston now. Don't forget, I live in Houston. So.
Okay.
Are
I
you
see.
serious? Are you kidding? We're going to discuss this on the platform.
Look,
I think we should take that off the
I was
platform.
share your number with him, Peter. I was
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at the men's baby shower when they had the balloons where everybody was stuffing like that. So I mean, he's not too far from me here in Houston. So
Okay.
no, but I mean,
Fantastic.
again, I mean, this is a rich conversation. So if your time allows, just let Ava know and let me know, because this, and Ava will tell you, I mean, this show every Saturday is all about Liberian businesses. I just got back from home. Tomorrow makes it 3 weeks. I was just home. I did some. The wife and I were there with our youngest son. We spent about 2 weeks there for Christmas. We left on New Year's Day, and I visited a lot of different places. And again, my assessment was the business community, small Liberian businesses, medium Liberian businesses, looking at different, substation locations, the transmission grid, and seeing how the whole energy thing is affecting the growth, the industrialization of the sector and stuff like that. So this is what the show is all about. It's all about how the diaspora can interact. We talk about Liberianization. We talk about Liberian entrepreneur. We talk about in fact, last week we were talking about the mindset, the business mindset that Liberians must bring to the market in Liberia. What is your mindset as you approach the Liberian market? Are you just believing that because you show up, everything will go in your favor? No, you're coming to compete in a market, and if you're not experienced in that market, you will be eaten up and crushed. And if you're coming to compete, that means you come to take somebody else's business. I mean, so you must bring the right plan. How innovative are you? Do you have any relationships on the ground? I mean, who are you connecting to? Oh, don't forget, energy is an issue. You're leaving from an industrialized economy, and you're coming to a developing economy where energy is a problem. The business you're bringing, is it energy dependent? So forth and so on, and things like that. So those are the things we talk about on this show. And we try to bring Liberian guests on from the business sector, so at least they can share their experiences, so the Liberian diaspora can interact as well as those on the ground as well. So we're trying to build that bridge between the diaspora Liberian entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurs in the Liberian sector on the ground in the economy. And we talked about, and we built everything around entrepreneurship. Ava was talking about his agriculture project, his water project, his solar project last week as well, expanding on that up at BWI and other places and things like that. So we make it holistic. It's all about business. It's all about business. Yeah.
Thank you, Peter.
Great.
Thank you.
So just to let you guys know, I will let you guys know. I will have a couple of Liberian entrepreneurs. We will find time, maybe sometime in February. I will get some guys. Most of them may not be known to most people, but when they talk about what they do and the size of their businesses, you'll be quite surprised. So I will reach out and see if we can get a bigger panel, and then we can look at discussing more some of the pertinent issues that
Exactly.
affect
Liberian businesses. Yes. Liberian
Wonderful.
businesses.
in Liberia. So
Please,
I
Peter,
will be in
please,
touch
please,
with
please.
Iva. I will be in touch with Iva, and we will set it up. I'm going on the road soon, so I'll be out of town. But once I'm back, I will link up with Iva, and we'll set this up, and we'll
Okay.
we'll get these other guys on, and you will get different perspectives
Please do. Please do. Please do.
around entrepreneurship and doing business
Yeah.
in Liberia, or the
Yeah.
business climate in Liberia. Okay,
Yeah.
guys, thank you. I
And
appreciate the
I'll
time.
get your contact. I'll
Peter,
get your
hold
contact
on
from
one
Alva
second.
as well.
Yes.
Peter, hold on one second. One
Yes.
quick question before we go, and I wanted to touch on it, but I forgot. As an entrepreneur, you have built an entrepreneur tree because you got some young people that you mentor or some business people. How is that going in terms of their own expansion and how well they're doing in business in Liberia or anywhere else?
Well, I mean, when it comes to like me, I'm proud to say, I've produced through the special grace of God some very wonderful young entrepreneurs.
Right.
You know, usually when people join our company and they have the induction with me, I always say I do not guarantee employment. I guarantee employability.
There you go.
Because once
Very
you
good.
work with me, you can work anywhere else. However, if you're not pulling your weight, there you go. So
You're not.
I won't hesitate to let you go
You're
if you are
costing me
not
money.
performing.
You're costing me
But
money. You're,
if you get your act right, when you do leave, you can work anywhere else if you choose to, or you can work yourself. So I have many young Liberians that have gone on to start their own businesses. Some of them
Wonderful.
are working abroad. In fact, one of my one of my proteges who I actually recruited out of graduate school. He had just done his master's in the UK many years ago. At the time, I worked in the oil and gas industry in Nigeria, and he came to me for employment in Nigeria. I convinced him, and he moved back to Liberia with me. We started GLS. Today, He's a he's a pro he's one of the key directors in the province of Ontario. He's managing over $1 billion. Over $1 billion. You know, he was with us for 10 years.
Is he
He did his
Liberian or Nigerian?
he's
Is he
Liberian.
Liberian or Nigerian?
Liberian.
He's Liberian.
Wow.
He's Liberian. Then
Wonderful.
I have guys that have gone on to start their own businesses, even in Liberia. They're running their own businesses. Some of them are even competing with. But I'm happy. Like I
Yeah.
tell them, I say, I don't see you guys as my competitors.
There you go.
I see
There
you
you
guys
go.
as collaborators.
Collaborators. That's
Because
exactly right.
the competition is external. Together, we take them out.
That's it.
If
Yes.
if
That's
your
right.
focus is to if your focus is to dethrone me,
You,
you are losing because someone is going to come and dethrone you too.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
But if
You know,
our focus is to make sure that we control the economy, we control the sector, then
yeah,
we collaborate.
that's exactly
So
right.
we enjoy that. So we've had many. We've been operational now for for about 13 years, and through
Good.
that period,
Good.
we've hired over 300 people, and
Yeah.
you know it's revolving doors. People come and people go.
Cool.
But like I said, everyone you meet who has worked for GLS, whether today you work in a bank, whether today you work in a mining company, whether you work for the government, guys who have come through our doors, they are unique, and you will always tell because the commitment to work,
Yes. The
the
ethic. The
commitment to
ethic.
work
The
is
ethic. The
there.
work ethic.
The work
Yes.
ethic is
Yes.
there because
Yes.
I'm not one of those guys that say, "Oh, you guys have to do this." Mm-mm. I get it done.
Yeah.
I
Take
tell
the
you,
lead.
I meet that client.
Yeah.
The next day, I've set up a meeting for you to go and meet the client. It
Right.
means I've
Yeah.
already met the client.
Yeah.
It means I've already met the client.
Yeah.
It means that
Yeah.
you are only going there to
Yeah. To close the
reaffirm
deal. To
what
close the
your
deal.
boss has
That's
said.
exactly. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But I'm not waiting for you to go and find the client and bring the client to me.
Yeah.
I will get the client and I will tell you, I met the client last night. You have a meeting tomorrow. Let me know how it goes. So that is part of what our journey has always been about. It's about giving back. It's about helping young, smart people
Mm.
to live their potential.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I mean, you can't see a guy and say, oh, he has he has a nice car. Okay. But then the next thing that comes up, oh, but he works in the government. We need more stories of people independent of government. People
Independent
who
of
are
government, yes.
living off themselves,
Yes.
who are able to
The
tell
intellectual
government,
property. The intellectual
thank
property.
you. So you are not shy to tell people in the public space when you think they are doing the wrong thing. You tell them because guess what? It has a direct impact on your business and
That's
on your
exactly right.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
But yes, guys. So thank you again. Now
Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much.
The entrepreneur.
The entrepreneurial spirit, you got to go out and do more. Go make more money.
Go make more
Thank
money.
you.
Go
We
close the
appreciate
deal.
you.
Go close the deal. Go out there. Go make it happen.
All right, man. I think we had a good show. So thank you for coming on and spicing it up a little bit. We got to harness this and keep it going. Keep sharing, keep giving information, keep attracting people to the show, and keep growing.
No,
Any last words from you? Because I'm out.
No. Thank you so much, Ava, for taking the lead today. And thank you for bringing Peter on the show today. Please share his contact with me. I've got Paul, but I don't have Peter. But I appreciate it. It was a great show, and I'm thankful that I jumped in at the time that I did. I'm thankful that my meeting got pushed up a little bit, so I was able to participate. But I mean, this is what we've been. That's the whole push and drive and initiative of this show, Business Talk, is just so we can highlight our own Liberian successes. And I like that thought, that point and thought that he ended on, right? The mentorship, okay? The mentorship that he's leading, that he's directing. And most importantly, the way he said that I don't see those guys who are fighting for, in the market, they're not fighting against me, right? Because our competition is external. It's not amongst us. And when I worked for Schneider Electric here in the U.S., again, related to the energy sector, we went to a national sales meeting. And one of the big VPs for Schneider, that was what he told us. He said, look, in as much as all of you 600 people who are sitting here from Schneider Electric, different divisions, different, Schneider companies, remember, the war is not here. The conflict is not in this room. No, our competition is not in this room. They're out there. So stop shooting at each other, creating a circular firing squad, and focus your energies on the competition that is out there. In this room, in order for us to beat the guys out there, the Eaton, the GE, the Siemens, okay, and the ABB, we need to collaborate and share information and resources in here so we create a formidable force against the competition who's coming after our pie. And that was what I really enjoy him articulating and expressing today. So thank you so much for bringing him on. And I like the fact that he enjoyed the show and he would bring other Liberian business successes on the ground to join the show and talk about and express the opportunities, the successes, the challenges in their segment of the business as well. So thank you so much, Ava, and enjoy yourself out there. Be safe, and if you had 10 push-ups, let's move to 15. If you have 15, let's go to 20. If you had 20, let's go to 25. So incrementally, right? Luke 2:52. And Jesus, step by step, break by break, you ultimately build the whole thing. So thank you for the show. Thank you to Rufus Divine Kane as well. I don't know what he broadcast today or not, but to all the platforms and to all the guests that tune in, we appreciate you guys so much. Share the show. We'll be back next Saturday. Remember, Business Talk is every Saturday, U.S. time, Central, 8 o'clock, Eastern, 7 o'clock. And we share it on YouTube, LinkedIn. I saw, what's his name? Mark Davies. He's been watching from LinkedIn. I saw Nikki Cully. She's been watching from YouTube, and a couple of other people on Facebook as well. So share the show. Next week, it's all about business. It's all about the Liberian economy. It's all about how the diasporans can play a role. So thank you so much, Ava. To everyone, I'm out.
Peace.
Have a great day. Peace.